Okay, testing, 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 testing. I believe I'm live now. What I'm going to be doing is looking at voter turnout between primary elections and general elections across hopefully a variety of different states in the next hour or so. If you have any requests for states that you'd like to look at, by all means, send me a message in the YouTube chat. And I'll do my best to get to that state. First thing I'm going to do is open up a new Google Sheet. So to do that, there's a really neat trick. You type in sheet.new, sheet.new, and when you do that, Google Spreadsheets will automatically start a new spreadsheet for you, which is a really neat trick. So I'm going to call this primary versus general turnout comparison. And probably going to want to do something like listing the state and then primary turnout. Well, I guess if I want it to be in tidy form, I would just do turnout percent. And then I would do election type, because the election type is going to be either going to be a primary or a general. And the reason I'm doing it this way is so that I can make basically the best kind of pivot tables. Makes it easier to do pivot tables. There's something called Tidy Tuesday, which if you go on Twitter and you follow that hashtag, they talk all about tidy format for your data, where you have one variable per column and one observation per row. So if I was to do it like state and then primary and general and percent, like this, right? Well, a single row would have multiple observations. I'd have an observation for the primary and an observation for the general. Really, primary and general are variables which answer the question of what kind of election. So that's why I'm going to use this 3-column format and not use this format. Should make the pivot tables a little bit easier to do. So I see we have 3 people in the chat. Hello, welcome. Feel free to send me a message in the chat if you have a state that you'd like me to look at. I've already done some election analysis on the general election for Alabama yesterday or the day before. And so today I'm going to be looking at primary election and general election turnout. So I guess I'll just start with Alabama because I did a bunch of work on that yesterday. Oh, before I dive into that, I'm just going to start a new document too. So doc.new, if you have Google Sheets, if you're signed in and you type doc.new and press enter, it'll open up a new Google document for you, which is like a super neat shortcut. And this will just be, I guess, for collecting notes or interesting results. Notes and results, okay. And then for the people who are new to the chat, I explained why I'm doing it in this way instead of doing primary and general as columns. Basically, those are, the variable is the type of election, right? Not primary and general. Okay, so let's look at Alabama. Election turnout. Start with that. I always like to go to the Secretary of State, so you can do something like site.gov, and that will only give you .gov websites. Voter turnout, Alabama Secretary of State. This looks like a PDF document. I don't know if you can see PDF documents because I can only share my web browser, which is kind of annoying, so I'm sorry about that. I will try to, let's get a spreadsheet. Okay, comprehensive voter turnout 1986 to 2020. That's what I want. Comprehensive voter turnout. It's going to be a PDF. I wish there was a way to just open it. Let me see if I can't get it to open in the browser. Oh, I can't. I can't just drag it. Oh, nope. I'm so sorry about that. I'm going to try to add a view so that I can show you the document. Hello, Annie. Thank you for tuning in. Right now, I'm trying to make it so that I can show you all the PDF that's on the screen. The screen capture software will not allow me to just capture my entire screen, and I've tried a bunch of workarounds for it. If anyone's using OBS and they have any hints, please let me know. There we go. Okay. I think this should work. Oh boy. So we go all the way back to 1986. Can you see this? Okay. So this goes all the way back to 1986, but we're looking for 2020 primary in general. Aha. Okay. 2020. Here it is. So for Alabama, the primary election had 33% turnout. Wow. 33% turnout. And the general election, which I computed yesterday, was something like 60.2% turnout. So the primary election had 33% overall turnout. So for Alabama, 0.33, election type primary, and then I'll do year 2020. 2020 Alabama. General election turnout, I'm just going to go to the document I had yesterday. I'm just looking up the documents I had yesterday. Okay, 62.66%. There we go. That's the number I was looking for. I'll make this as a percent. And this was the general. So first of all, what we can immediately see is that the primary election gets roughly half, a little more than half of the turnout of the general election. Or if you want to be positive about it, oh, you can't see that because of my software. I apologize. I'm still new to streaming on YouTube, so I do apologize. I'm new to this software. Wow. I do apologize for this. I'm trying to just show you the Chrome window. Here we go. Okay. Okay. I think I've lost visual. Nope, there it is. I've gained back visual. Okay, so I've got visual here. Yeah, so that's for 2020, and that's for Alabama, right? I want to know about Kentucky, so we can go to the Kentucky voter turnout, site.gov, State Board of Elections, that's where I want to start because that's where like the root of all the data comes from. 2020, now this is interesting. They have it broken down by age, gender, party. They have it broken down by precinct and broken down by county. And I'm looking at all of these and they're all PDFs. These are all PDFs, which if you're doing data analysis is next to worthless. Wow, that's kind of frustrating. Okay, well, that's the way it is though. So let's open the first one. And I'm going to try to open this in Google Chrome. Oh, come on. It won't let me open in Google Chrome, which is so frustrating. Because I can't share my entire desktop. I can only share Windows with you using this software. I got to get better software. But you're seeing me go through this live. So I will try to share that with you in a moment. Okay. I think I am now sharing with you the turnout in Kentucky. And they've really got this broken down. Wow. They've really broken this down in a lot of different ways. 137 pages of it. But this is the statewide summary. So this is very interesting. Not every state does this. So in Kentucky, for the 8/23, 2020, for the November elections, and they've dated this 8/23 statewide. Oh, broken it down by congressional districts. I'm not going to go into all that. And they have NAN in there. Wait, I saw an NAN somewhere. Ah, NAN right here. So what this tells me is that they have this in a better form, a text form, a spreadsheet form, and they're deliberately making it a PDF for whatever reason. I think they're doing it to irritate all the data scientists. Okay, so looking at Kentucky, overall turnout in the, what did I click on? This is the primary election in Kentucky. Primary election in Kentucky among all these different age groups for all ages is 31%. Okay, but that's for all age groups. They've broken this down into demographics, male and female, and by party for, Democratic Party, Republican Party, and then other registrations. So in the primary election in Kentucky, the top line for 17 to 24, 22% turnout, 25 to 34 is 19% turnout, 24% turnout for the 35s to 49s, and then it really jumps up to 34.2% for the 50 to 61, and then the 62 and over, almost half of them are coming out and voting, right? Now, almost half of them, and there's almost quadruple the number of 62 and over voting, right? So the elderly over greatly outweigh the young folks. But let's look at the actual numbers, right? 923,000 total registered 62 and over voters. Almost 1 million of them are registered, right? Half of them turn out, almost half of them turn out. So that's almost 500,000, 415, just, a little bit less than 500,000. Young people 17 to 24, only 293, something about 300,000. So 3 times as many 62 and over registered voters, raw numbers, as compared to the 17 to 24. 568,000 total registered for the 25 to 34 age group. Yes, this is pretty interesting. We could really spend time interpreting this. this is pretty interesting. And then this is just the total registered, right? Then they break it down as Democrats and Republicans. So they track your registration, they track voter registration in Kentucky not just by age group, but also by males and females, and also by party preference. So younger people, 293 total, right? 128,000 registered as Democrats, 133,000 registered as Republicans. The young Democrats had a significantly higher turnout than the young Republicans, and so more young Democrats ended up voting in Kentucky than did young Republicans, even though young Republicans outnumber young Democrats in the state. For the 25 to 34 age group, you have young Democrats outnumbering young Republicans, right? Not by much, but it's about 20,000. But the Democratic turnout is higher, so the overall number of people who voted is higher. But again, I would consider these abysmally low numbers. This means that 70%, and here more than 80% overall, are not voting in the primary election, right? And when you look at these other registrations, right, their turnout is almost zero. In some cases, they've literally rounded it down so that it's zero. 21 people, male, female, none, right? But you're talking like 2% turnout. But let's look at this though. You've got 63,000 other registrations in the 25 to 34 age group. 1.8% turnout, so that means only 1,000 turned out. So by the raw numbers, they're overwhelmed by both the Republicans and the Democrats. However, look at the total number of registered Republicans who actually came out to vote, 37,000, right? So if you could get the other registrations to vote in as high a number, a highest percent as your 62 and over group, right? If you could get 50 to 60% of these people to turn out, you could get more third-party people than Republicans in the state of Kentucky. Right? See how that works? If you get 63,000 people, you only need 37,749, one more, to get more than the Republicans. But the voter turnout is so low, 1.8%, that doesn't happen. Again, 87,000 registered, but only 2,000 showed up. Okay, so that's kind of interesting. Yeah, there's a lot in here, but it's all locked up in a PDF. So even if I tried this edit PDF tool lets you easily modify. Does it? Copy the text, and then I will try to pull up the Chrome window, and I'll try to create a new tab and paste that in, but I think it's going to be a mess. I think it's going to be like one cell. Oh, okay. That's better than nothing. That's better than nothing. It looks like we can split this apart. We can split these columns apart. Oh, cleanup suggestions. Review column. No suggestions available. There's usually some way, get out of here. There's usually some way that you can split the data. Oh, split text to columns. There it is. Separator, they've detected it automatically. I'm going to go, huh, okay. Hmm. That that's not that's not too bad. That's not that's not too horrible. That's not too terrible. It's still not ideal. We'd have to clean it up. I don't know how much time we want to spend cleaning things up. Yeah, so I just want to clear up, Annie. I'm only going off of the data that's on the Secretary of State's website, and I'm just using those numbers to do turnout analysis, right? I'm not doing any sort of theorizing or hypothesizing about uh, what any particular politician is doing to tilt the election one way or the other. I'm only looking at the raw turnout numbers. And this is similar to analysis I've done in previous years. And the general pattern is that in primary elections, your turnout is roughly 20 to 30%. And in general elections, your turnout is roughly like 50 to 60%. And that's nationwide. And that's just from me doing this over the past few years. Uh, the specifics of who's turning out ballots and what's going on with mail-in ballots, I'm not having that discussion. That is not what this is about at this time. So um, what I'm trying to do now is trying to shape this data so that I can actually like make some graphs and have a look at some of the turnout. And so that's the primary. But do we have turnout data for Kentucky for 2020? Primary election, general election, certified election results. Maybe they'll have turnout here. Oh, gosh darn it, they keep doing it in PDFs. Everything's a PDF in Kentucky. Sorry for being frustrated with that. It's just when they put this data in PDFs, it becomes really irritating. Okay, 2020 general election. Voter turnout. Yeah, see, there it is, 60%, which is fairly typical in a general election if you get like between 50 and 60%, which means 40% of people are not voting. And that's been a pattern that's been true forever. Now, this is what I'm talking about. Summary CSV files, detailed um, detailed files. So let's download this. A zip file. Okay, fine. I'm just going to open up the zip file, unzip it, and then try to put it into Google Sheets. So for anyone else who might be watching, um, I'm just trying to do some basic voter turnout analysis. So let me import. They zipped up a single Excel file. Insert new sheet. Import data. Okay. Okay, so now we have something here for Kentucky. So this is Kentucky General. Kentucky General. Okay, this is Kentucky Primary. So for anyone watching, this is actually a lot of what I would say data science and data analysis is. A lot of it is trying to find the data, then finding out that it's a PDF, and then you cry for a little bit, and then you figure out some way to get the data into a spreadsheet. Because once it's into a spreadsheet, then you can start doing all sorts of cool analysis on it. And there's also just a lot of looking at stuff and noticing general patterns and trying to find a path that you want to go down and explore. Um, okay, so for the Kentucky general election, right? So they have ballots cast and registered voters, total votes. Oh, so then it's real easy to put in the turnout. So all we do is turnout percent is going to be the registered voters divided by the ballots cast. Oops, that is reversed. It's the ballots cast divided by the registered voters. Autofill. This is a percentage. There we go. So I want to filter this, right, and look at, I guess we can just look at the president. Clear everything, president and vice president, and then okay. All right, here we go. So Republican Party, total number of votes, this is a number with no percentages. Percentage of votes, they actually write it as a number that should be like 0.62, but I'm not going to get into all that. Okay, so the turnout for the presidential race, right, 59.02% of Kentucky voters voted in the presidential race, right? And they're saying, you know, Donald Trump won in Kentucky with 62% of the vote, but what they mean is that he won with 62% of the people who came out to vote, right? So this is overall, or rather, the contest turnout rate. I want to do, we'll do a percent of the percent of votes that were cast. That's easy. That's just the total votes for the candidate divided by the number of ballots cast. Yes, autofill it, make it a percent. And there you see, ooh, woohoo. Well, maybe they're including these other over and under votes, which I don't understand what these mean. What if I add those in? Would that give me a number plus this plus this? I'm just trying to figure out why there's a little difference there. Nope, that doesn't do it. So when I take the total number of votes cast for Donald Trump and divide it by the total number of ballots cast, I get 61.67%. However, the SOS website is saying that Donald Trump won with 62.13%. These are the election night results summarized, and I don't know when this was last updated, so maybe it doesn't include everything. President and vice president, 62.13%. I don't know. 1,326, 1,326, and 772,285. 772,285, right? And the ballots cast. 2134996. 2134996. Oh, here we go. Okay. 2134996 is what the ballots cast. I'm completely freewheeling here. There's no real structure. If you're watching this and you're like, what is going on? I'm just looking at Kentucky election turnout numbers right now. And I'm just kind of going through some freestyle analysis. Okay, so the SOS website is saying that 2,134,996 votes were cast total. contest detail. What do I get? Oh, it just shows you an overlay. 2134996. Maybe Jorgensen, Kanye, and Ballard. No, it shows all that. 26,217, 26,217, 6478, 6478, 3598, 3598. Huh, all these numbers are here. If I add these all up, sum of all these numbers, 2134996. Okay, so that's the correct number. But here it's telling me that the ballots cast for president is 2150954. So somewhere in there, there's like 20,000 more votes. I don't know where they're getting that from. I don't know where those extras are coming from. Huh, interesting. And then it's broken down by county. This is overall. Okay. Interesting. Okay, well that's the general election, and the turnout number that I was looking for was, 60.33. So if I go back to this sheet, general, and then for the primary, the election results were about half of that. This is a copy paste of a terrible PDF. So if I look at the PDF, the overall turnout was 31.1%. So I'll just paste that. Yeah, 31.1%. So 0.31, 31.31. No, 31.10, sorry. So, in Alabama and in Kentucky, you see kind of the same pattern. In the general election, you get about 60% turnout. That's for Alabama. In the primary election, you get roughly half of that, 33%. Little more than half of that. In Kentucky, the general turnout was 60%. And in their primary election, the turnout was, again, a little bit more than half of that. So in my view, that's kind of sad, because the primary selects the individuals who are going on to the general election. And with such a teeny tiny turnout, that means a very small percentage of people are deciding who goes in to the general, and then forces everyone else to choose amongst those people. So that's Kentucky. Let's see if Georgia primary 2020 turnout. So Georgia, Secretary of State. I'm trying to find the turnout for Georgia. Voter turnout by demographics. So this isn't current. This goes from 2010 to 2018. So we can look at the 2018 general election. zip file, zip file. They're all zip files, so I'm going to have to download them, unzip them. Gender district, congressional district, race, gender, and age. So this is all really interesting. And if I had the time, well, let's download by county November 2018. I have to unzip this, which you can't see me do, so I'll try and do it really quick. So I can import, upload from the desktop. And this is Georgia 2020. Wow. Wow, now see Georgia gets, now this is some detail right here. Not an ideal format, but more detailed than all the other states, and it's in an Excel file, so good on you, Georgia. So here they have it broken down, male, female, unknown, by black, white, Asia, Pacific, Hispanic, Latinx, Latino, Native American, other, total. Okay, and that's all by county. So for all the counties in Georgia, 159 counties in Georgia, they've broken it down by this, and then this. This is for November 6th. It's the general election 2018. So for the general election, you know, the black male turnout in Appling County was 42.97%. Right? Black female is 57.17% in Appling County, and so on down the line. White male turnout 66.66%, white female turnout slightly higher than that. One thing I'm noticing in Appling County is that the female turnout is higher than the male turnout, and the white turnout is higher than the black turnout. Now that just might be that one county, so I'll go down to a random, you know what, let me view, freeze, up to current row. There we go. And then just make that super tiny because we don't need it. Okay, so I'll go into like Harris County. Black men 59.89, black women 68.71. Yeah, that's a significantly larger turnout. Black women are voting in larger percentages than black men among registered voters. 67.68, 66.15. So white men a little bit more than white females, but still close together. Dramatic difference. So now I can go in, insert a column like this. I'll make the column a slightly different color just to make it visually easier to see. And then I can do like a formula to find the difference between the female percentage and the male percentage. Like this, suggested autofill. Yeah, wow, look at those differences. So this is diff. I mean, you can't hardly read it. So that's the difference in turnout between black female and black males. Look at that by county. Huh. So then I can do, this really should be moved down, but whatever, okay. Right, so this is just like dirty data analysis right here. Control, bring that all the way up. And now I can do some sort of like insert chart should give me some sort of bar chart. A histogram. Okay, so that's a histogram, right? That's okay. I'll take that. I'll take a histogram. This this here is the difference, right, between black females and black male voter turnout among all the counties in Georgia. And the height of the bar represents how many counties fell within that range of 10% to 13.3% more black women voted than black men voted, turnout numbers, right? So you can see it's between like 10% and almost 17%. That's like right around where things are sitting. Um, that's pretty interesting. You can probably do like a bar chart or something like that, but it's going to get real messy because it's going to give us all the counties like this. And since all I could do here is, see, I'm going to try and sort it so that we can get a better look at this. And if you're just tuning in, again, I'm just doing like random analysis here. Sorry if I'm not responding in the chat. Yeah, so again, Annie, I repeat, I am not discussing any sort of election fraud issues. I'm not discussing any sort of hypotheses or theories about how elections were rigged or not rigged, or whether there was mail-in ballot, whatever, all that stuff. I'm not discussing that. I'm just purely looking at the spreadsheets that are on the Secretary of State website, and then I'm looking at turnout numbers between the primary election and the general elections, right? That's what I'm focused on now. I'm not giving any sort of opinions about any of those other issues, right? So right now, what I want to do is I want to sort those two columns, and honestly, it might just be easier to just kind of take this, put it in its own tab like that, go back to this, put it in its own tab like this. Oh, paste values. Okay, now I can insert a chart, and that's you know, not the most useful. I like it this way because then the names of the counties are along the vertical axis, right? And I'm going to sort this data right? Sort Z to A. Wow. Now that should change the graph. Yeah, there it is. That's what I was looking for. This is the graph I'm looking for. I can just stretch it up like this. This is exhausting. Maybe if I just cut it and then paste it, much better. Okay. So look what we have here. This is the difference in the Georgia 2020 general election. The difference between black females and black males voter turnout by county. Okay, so shrink it down a little bit more. There we go. So in Eccles County, this means that black women voted 26.94% more than black men. In I hope I'm pronouncing that right, in Eccles County. In White County, 24.12% more black women turned out than black men. In other words, the voter turnout for black women was 24% higher than the voter turnout for black men in that county. And you can see this shape kind of unfold from the graph. And you would expect, I would expect just maybe a few percentages, but not 20%, not even 10%. 5% would kind of raise my eyebrow, but consistently, the voter turnout among black women as compared to black men appears to be like 10% or more greater. Um, and then you can do basic like statistics on these numbers. Um, Union County, apparently they were even, and in Rabern County, men voted, their turnout was higher, the only one. So here's some basic stats. The average is 12.46%, right? That's pretty remarkable. Wow, my goodness. Yeah. Okay, so that's just the general election. I'm just diving now into this. Um, and you can do you can do that for basically anything. Now let's compare that to the white men and women. Let's insert one here. Let's do the same difference between white females and white males. There's the turnout percentage. I'm looking at turnout percentages only. Yes, autofill it. This is the diff of WF turnout minus WM turnout, like that. I'll color it, oops. Just color this something different so we can see it. And then what I'll do is I'll copy this, paste it into here, and then we should let's see what happens when we do this side by side. We have to sort the counties A to Z because that's how they're sorted in this spreadsheet, sorted A to Z. No, oh, no, they're not. No, they're sorted by county code, which is alphabetic. A, P, T, bacon. Yeah, okay, alphabetical, good. Paste that as values. And then I'm just gonna copy this over again because I don't want to risk having gotten these numbers wrong. So I'll copy this, paste those values, and I'll copy the county names again just to make sure. Copy this, paste values like this. Okay. Now I should be able to select edit chart. Data range goes to C160. Add series. Aha. There, now look at this. Now this is where I feel like we've discovered something. We're like an hour deep into this thing, and I feel like I found something interesting. Okay. Again, for people who might be tuning in, what I'm looking at is the voter turnout, right? I'm looking at the difference between the black females and black males voter turnout by the counties in Georgia for the general election. Make that 2020 general. Georgia. Georgia general. Right. Okay. Yeah. Here it is. Okay. See if I can maximize this. Full screen it. There we go. Give us a little bit more space. Yeah. Okay. So, you can see on the right-hand side, all these blue lines, right, indicate that black women are voting on average about 12% more. Their voter turnout, black female voter turnout, is about 12% higher than black male voter turnout in the state of Georgia. And when we do the same for the difference between white women and white men in Georgia, we find out that men are voting in higher numbers and not nearly as high the numbers. So I'm going to go and sort all this. Create filter, there we go. And let's see how this graph changes. I'm going to sort this from largest to smallest. Wow, look at that. There's almost no relationship. There's almost no, you can see all the differences when I sort here. You would expect maybe that there would be a corresponding pattern in the difference between white females and white males in Georgia in the 2020 election, in the turnout numbers. But there isn't. It seems just to be random noise. Now, if I sort these Z to A, first of all, there's kind of a range. In some counties, the men voted more than the women voted. Well, in most counties, the men voted more than the women voted, right? And in a few counties, the women voted more than the men. Those are the red lines for white women. But again, there's no real relationship, it seems, between how black women and black men turned out for the 2020 election and how white women and white men turned out for the 2020 election. And I feel like for this one county here, this has to be some sort of data entry error, because this is the only county in all of Georgia where it's showing black men as voting much more than black women, and no other county in Georgia has that. So I would want to look at Rayburn a little bit more carefully to see what's going on there. That's interesting. I'll bet that's probably some sort of data entry error, or maybe when I was copy pasting, I overwrote something, I don't know. But I'll bet that's probably some sort of data entry error. Interesting. This is fascinating. I was not expecting this. Okay. Let's say it was Rayburn. Raven, right here. Oh, okay. So in Rabun County, there's only 31. Can that be correct? There's only 31 black men who are registered to vote in all of the county? And there's 34 black women. And so that means that only like 12 black men voted and 12 black women voted. That's why there's that difference. That's fascinating. Oh my goodness. Wow. So what I'd probably then want to do is like filter out, for larger counties and see if there's any difference, between the larger counties and the smaller counties. What do we have? White men. Okay, so then, yeah, in Rabun County, then it looks like it's, predominantly white, almost exclusively white. 5,200 white men, 5,800 white women, um, and their turnouts were, about 64%. Interesting. So let's go. Like, are there any Asians in this county? No, there's like 21 Asian men, 22 Asian women in this Rabun County. So then what I would do next is I would go like trying to find a map of Georgia and see how many people are in this county, and you find out all these interesting outliers, right? But the general pattern, going back to this, is that your general election, 40% of people stay home, and in your primary elections, like 70% of the people stay home, which I think is a sad thing. Okay, well, locally here it's 5, 5:15. So this was interesting. I'm gonna make a note of this and try to reshape this data and maybe contact the Georgia Secretary of State, um, and and see what else I can find out here. Pretty cool. All right, well, I hope you all have a good night. Thanks for tuning in, to those who tuned in, and I'm going to be ending the stream. And I hope you have a good evening and enjoy the rest of your Thanksgiving weekend. Bye-bye.